We're with William Sanders, the independent candidate from the 3rd District. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, sir.
All right, let's talk a little bit, 1 minute roughly. Why is it that you're running? Why do you think you're the best person for the job?
Well, I certainly have, I'm certainly no politician. I'll say that right off the bat, but I feel I have a lot to bring to the table. I've a graduate of Oklahoma State University in biology and political science. I've served 12 years in the National Guard as a supply specialist and was deployed in Iraq during 2008, during Iraqi freedom. I worked in Stillwater I lived there for 20 years and love the town, and I love the state. And I really feel that we need a fresh voice in politics, or in Washington, and for our state. I just feel that the current leadership just isn't working. We have politicians, but we need leaders, and I feel that a fresh face in Washington with the ideas out of the box and not necessarily the same failed solutions that we have had for the past 20 years.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the economy and jobs, because this is obviously the biggest issue of the election cycle. What would you do if you're elected to try to bring jobs to the district and also boost the economy?
Well, I do feel that our energy security is very important to our economy, especially when it comes to transportation. Much of our industry, we need to focus more on extracting more natural gas, working on alternative energy fuels. And I also feel that we need to diversify our economy to bring in more jobs such as technological and research. We have wonderful universities here in our state, and we need to keep more of our gifted people in state to contribute.
Let's talk a little bit about health care. The U.S. Supreme Court has upheld the Health Care Reform Act. If you're elected, what do you think should happen with health care?
I do believe that Obamacare, while it could be tweaked and it could be certainly we worked in some areas, I do think that we do need a very comprehensive health care plan as opposed to what we have had before. Because essentially, pre-Obamacare, is essentially a patchwork system. I feel that we should have it more unified, where everyone is on the same page, and that would certainly help keep costs down, and also errors and other related items down.
Sure. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the nation's debt and the deficit, widely talked about as well. If you're elected, what would you do to try to decrease national debt and the deficit?
I do believe we have to control spending, especially even the sacred cows of military and some extent possibly spending on some domestic programs. I do feel that nothing should necessarily be off the table, and essentially, as it is, we are just doing nothing but borrowing, which is why we have a deficit. And since we are approaching the so-called fiscal cliff, before has always been kicking the can further down the road. We do need to deal with it now before it becomes an even bigger problem later, and the day of reckoning would be coming.
Let's talk a little bit about Social Security. With every election cycle, we get a little closer to Social Security running out of money. If you get elected, what would you like to see happen with Social Security? What's your plan?
I do think that one way is to essentially keep Social Security for those that actually do need it. I think that if you have, right now, currently, anyone can get Social Security, even those that have, that could essentially qualify as millionaires, in theory. We should reserve those benefits for those that truly do need them. I think that we should also probably think into raising the contributing tax. So far, I think they have a certain ceiling up to $200,000. I think we could probably raise that. It doesn't have to be too much or too extravagant. Something, say, adjusted to the cost of living.
Congressional approval ratings are at their lowest level ever, roughly around 12% or so. If you're elected, what would you do to try to get people to trust Congress again?
I do think that essentially we need leaders that are honest and leaders that actually make an effort to do what they pledge to do in office. I would be content to just serve one term if I knew that my one term I actually did something fruitful and meaningful in my term of office. as we have seen this past October, or this past month, Congress was only in session for 12 days, the shortest on record. I feel that if I were, if I had such a responsibility, I would be working, burning the midnight oil to get things done, even if it cost me the election.
Have to leave it there. All right, good luck to you.
Thanks, sir.